today on Fact Weekly, we're going to be re-examining something we started last week, which was a quote by Mother Teresa, and she says, if you just spend an hour a day adoring the Lord and never do anything you know is wrong, you'll be fine. Last week we talked about making baby steps in adoring the Lord through journaling. Today we're going to be talking about trying to accomplish what seems to be an impossible task. And adoring the Lord for an hour a day and never doing anything you know is wrong, for me at least, seems like somewhat of an impossible task, as does running a marathon. But if I were to set my goal on running a marathon, I would try and at least tomorrow or today get out and run 1 kilometer. And then slowly progress to the point over maybe the course of 6 months or a year where I could run 40 kilometers altogether. The same thing is true of adoring the Lord for an hour a day and never doing anything you know is wrong. It starts with very small steps. One small step that I'm trying to take is a couple years ago I was spending some time in prayer and felt like the Lord told me that He wanted to be first in my life. And I realized that if He's first, it means I pay attention to Him before I pay attention to other things. And so in order to make baby steps in moving toward adoring Him and making Jesus first, one of the things that I did recently was buy an alarm clock. Not so much that I can get up in the morning, because I had been doing that before, but actually buying a real alarm clock like back in the last century. Because what I realized is when I was using my phone as an alarm clock and I'd roll over and hit the button to turn off the alarm, there were all my text messages that were unanswered and my Telegram notifications that were unanswered. And there was a huge temptation to turn to other things first and not Jesus first. I recently listened to a podcast where someone quoted scientific evidence that the first thing you think about in the morning and the last thing you think about at night will shape your life and determine your destiny. I want Jesus to be that thing, that first thing I think about in the morning. So that's why I bought an alarm clock, to keep my phone out of my room and to get rid of the temptation to turn to other things before I turn to the Lord each day. And so one of my main goals and values in life is becoming conformed to the image of Christ. And maybe the small step of buying an alarm clock is going to help me get there. Think about what that thing might be for you, a small step that might move you in the direction to adoring the Lord and, of course, never doing anything you know is wrong, which we're going to talk about next week.